Hi everyone, how are you all doing this evening? I trust that you have all been wonderful as I am. Let me introduce you to a new innovative and captivating experience called Express. This new talk show is encouraging, exciting, profound, real, energizing, sensitive, and sensible. This is what Express is all about. Here it comes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please help me welcome the beautiful, expressive, talented, and savvy director of Express, called Carolyn. Carolyn, the stage is yours. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show. As you have been told before, this show is called Express because we want you to express yourself. This is our second episode, our first episode. We were honored to hear Mr. Othello Bobway with his story. And wow, wasn't that a story? It's not yet finished, so we have the second episode. So let's stand still and look out to hear our second episode with the continuation of Mr. Othello Bobway's story. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Miss Caroline. And it's indeed my pleasure coming over to give the first episode on Express. And so today I am very glad to give the second component of my story. And I hope that my story is not just about me. I hope that indeed it's going to have an impact on the lives of people who probably might be going through similar, if not the same, but find yourself in a situation, how much you can trust God and how much God is able to bring you through. Again, thank you for bringing me back.
You are welcome. Ever so welcome. So, welcome back to episode 2, Mr. Bobway. Now, for those who weren't here before, Mr. Bobway went through a very intriguing story. And he has now come back to do the second episode. So he's just got out of prison and met with his mom. So he's going to continue from there.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Caroline. And going back to the story, just like I said, from prison, I just want to take you back to how it all started. How did she get to know? Because, like I said from the beginning, my mom and everybody else, nobody knew my way about. How did they get to know that I was in this prison? How did she get to the prison? First of all, I gave God the glory. But as we know, God works in a mysterious way. So I have a cousin and a young lady. She had a relationship with one of the top military official from the barrack. So they went to the border to always arrest people who cross over from Liberia to Guinea from the border. So on one of their tour, she and this man started friendship. And so the friendship grew over the year. One day, according to her now, when I was out and then we having a family discussion, then I got to know that it all started from her.
Oh.
So she and this man are having some good time, and she decided to talk about her cousin, which I am. Oh, my cousin used to have this and that, but he was arrested and was killed, or we don't know about him. So, and this military top official said, "Who is your cousin?" And she decided to describe me. And from one topic to another, the man was like, "What? Do you have a picture of him?" And so she quickly got a picture, tried to show a picture of me and description how my arrest and other thing. So that connected, like, okay, if you say he was arrested like this, I do have some people in prison right now, and your cousin. For us in the African setting, we usually don't use cursing that much. We consider it our brother and sister, especially when we first cursing very direct. So she said, my brother. And the man said, well, if I tell you something, would you believe? Your brother is alive. She said, no, he got killed. Matter of fact, the church that he's part of, they even had a memorial service in the church because he used to be the music leader for the church. And the man said, no, this very person you're talking about is still alive. She said, I said, no, he died. And then that's when the man said, well, I'm going to take you to this city and I tell you that your brother is alive. She said, hold on. Let me go quickly and call our mom, which was her aunt, which is my mom. And that's how she went to my mom and told my mom, and said, guess what? Traditionally, my name is called Mullah in our, language. So when she told my mom said, I have forgotten about that for long. I don't want to be reminded. Whoever bringing the story, don't remind me about it. No. And then she said to him, I said, the man said he's alive. So that's how she brought the man home. And my mom sat with him for the first time. And he guaranteed he was going to take them to the barrack. So I just wanted to give you how it all started.
Background. Fair enough.
That's how he was responsible, transport them, did everything for them, brought them, and they came overnight. They slept. The next morning, according to the story, that's when I was having a dream. Little did I know it was a reality.
Right.
And that morning, the dream woke me up from my dream. And I saw this very door that I saw in my dream. I saw it just as it was in a dream. And that was the day I was released from the prison. And that didn't stop there. So when they took me out now, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which is headed by the United Nations, then got involved because they were responsible for refugees. So they took me into the United Nations headquarters, and I saw over 10, 20 different United Nations vehicles. They all came over, and they have come to interview me. First of all, they were all shocked that there were Liberians that had been arrested for over a year, and they kept them in prison. Some of them even died. Why didn't they disclose this to the United Nations? Especially, they were responsible for refugees. So another country under the treaty, you cannot arrest other citizens from another country with no investigation on allegation, and you put them in jail and you killing them and they die. So the United Nations took the case very seriously. It even started expanding onto a bigger case.
Okay.
So that's when they asked me now, gave a whole history, if I could recall how many, what were the instances, who do I know that died. They were going to engage the government to be able to tell them why did they do what they did. And then that was the opening also of all of my friends that were in jail. So they then asked me, and because we spent over a year and a half, of like almost 2 years, so we got to know everybody. I knew everyone by name, the family, I knew everyone. So I gave every information, their names, if possible, ages, everything.
Yes.
That's how they then went to the prison compound and free all the others that were in.
Wow. All because you got freed.
Yeah.
Mercy.
And then when they free everyone from the prison, they then decided they were going to take us, the United Nations is going to be responsible. We're not going to go to our parents now. They're going to get us a place to live. They're going to get us settled. They call it resettlement. Because we have been abused, we have been denied of our rights, and they didn't investigate. They have lied on us. Why did they treat us? Because the UN then investigated. They realized we had no connection with rebel activity because they went back into Liberia, did an investigation, did it also in Guinea, especially with this group. None of us were connected to rebel activity. So why you had to treat these people? Some of them even died for that innocent death. So the case was very big. I don't know what happened to the case anyway, but the United Nations took over, and then we were malnourished. You name it. All these years,
I can just imagine.
they brought people who could have taken us to do bobbing because my mom tried to bob my hair. They said no for legal purpose. They said no, nothing. They couldn't touch anything. Till the United Nations wanted to have records and all of these things. So they themselves had to bring their own Bibles to come and Bible us, and brought medical practitioners that started treating us for all these years. So they took us to a place that they rented a whole house for us and started feeding us. They had cooks for us and everything else.
Wow.
We had our doctors that would come to treat us. We were there for months, and they said they wanted to resettle. So the story was, you can tell which country you want to be resettled, because they asked, do you want to go back? I said, no, I don't want to go back. I was not confident with the community anymore. So it was the first time they said my resettlement would have been for the United States. I was so excited about it. And the paperwork was done. Everything was okay. And then here comes again how the devil play his games. The very day they came from the capital city of Guinea called Conakry. Matter of fact, we were in a city called Zerikoli. Those who know Guinea will know what I'm talking about. So the convoy came from Conakry to come and get us, because our story went very big, national story. So they had a whole convoy from the United Nations High Commission on Refugee. They came down to take, especially me, who have decided to be resettled this side. Other people are going to be resettled the other way. But something mischievous happened. All along, the lady who was in charge of our cases gave us the assurance that everything was done. They gave us even an ID, everything. That day, when they came on a long bus, they just call your name, show your ID, and somebody was there with a computer to check on the system. They called my name. When I went to the bus, the man said, no, this is not a picture I have. I showed my ID, a complete different picture. Somebody else they took and put on mine.
Wow.
I said, hold on. My mom and every other person we've had over the celebration, I'm about to be resettled in the United States. You deny me this? And then the lady that was in charge, everybody looking for her to come and justify, she disappeared. How did this happen? And then I saw somebody who was not even in the jail. He's the one they put on the paper.
Wow.
And then it turned into a huge commotion, like the whole place was people who knew me and know the story. People got mad so bad for me that they almost got into a fight. So the guy who came that was heading the team, he said, well, you got to leave it. We're going to settle that later, but the paperwork is done. I can't tell which is true because this is what I have. That's what I got to deal with. And for sure, he dealt with what he had. This guy went in my place.
What?
I said, Lord, why? And it was so broken and so bad that I can't believe this opportunity had been stolen away. But I still trusted God through it all. If God could lead me through from the jail and still got me free, I said, God will still work for me. That was my first opportunity to come to the United States, and I was denied completely.
And how did your mother take that? When she
My
heard?
mother, for her, she didn't see it to be a big problem in that she wanted her son in her
Not to
arms.
be. Oh,
So all she said was, God doesn't want you to leave me now. So stay with me. That's how my mother, while I was broken down, this and my mama said, God wants you to still be with me. And for real, I didn't get to fly to America. So that took a couple years, go back and get myself settled down and all of these stuff. So we then came back in Liberia as returning refugees coming back home, because when I lose that opportunity, I didn't want to be in that place at all, because I just was not comfortable, especially with my dad. People try to get me to reconcile with my dad, and it was a little too soon for me. I couldn't still get it. So my best way was I just wanted to be away, not to be close to my dad. I didn't want to see him. And he tried to come and say how he's sorry and all of these stories. And I said, okay, but I just want to be away. So that's when I left him and went back to Liberia. I was much grown now. A friend of mine, we went back to Liberia and we decided to go to school so bad. My dream was I wanted to go to school. I've been denied of school. I spent all these years in jail and I've been denied, I've been ripped off of everything. When am I going to start in life? And I wanted to start all over. All these years, the opportunity to go to America has been ripped out. Everything, how am I going to start? So I left my mom, I left everybody, came back on my own to get started. And I got back to Liberia. That's when I went back and I was so much glued in the Seventh-day Adventist system. I decided to go to school, to the Seventh-day Adventist High School in Monrovia.
Okay.
And then I got to the school, I did all the process, everything. I got started. Unfortunately, I didn't have anyone, so I couldn't afford to pay my fees. So they asked me if I was willing to become a janitor so that I can be able to go to school. I said, what? I'm happy. So I started cleaning up the school, clean up every day. I got up school, I had to clean up. And all of my colleagues will be leaving and going. And that's when I stay back to clean up the whole day till evening time before I go. So I came across a girl who became my friend in school. So who, like any other young boy, I started hiding that from her. I didn't want her to know that I had to stay every day to clean up the school whenever everybody leaves. So her dad would come up, her parents rather would come out to pick her with a car, and she'd be like, "Othello's not leaving?" And I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm waiting for someone." Every day I'm keep lying that I'm waiting for someone, but I had to stay to clean up just to stay in school. And so one of the elders in the church, I established a male group, male chorus. We used to sing. I was a director. He saw everything I did. That's when he called me. How you going to school? How you doing? He's called one Councillor Berry, and I will forever say his name. A great counselor, a great man of God, a strong elder.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive.
Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Emmanuel Berry is still alive. So he asked me, oh, how was I going to school? And how was it when I told him he felt so bad? He said to me, with the service in the church, you're just a great child. Would you mind? You want to live for me? I said, yeah. And then he said, okay, though I'm not going to go through legal process, but I want to take you as my son. Live for me. I pay your school fees and do everything for you. God opened my door. And I started living with Councillor Berry. I didn't have regular food to eat. I had electricity now to study. And I started getting life back all together. That's how I stayed with him till I graduated from high school. And then after that, I had to be on my own for college and stuff. So the United Nations decided they were going to give back to Liberia in terms of disarmament, take gun away from people. And if you want to go to school, you can use an ID that they were going to give you. You can go up to college, to school, free of charge. So I said, I want to get that. But it was intended for people who fought the war. But then they categorically broke it that if I didn't physically fight the war, but mentally, I went through this war. I struggled for this war. I suffered for the war. I need to benefit as well. So they then say across the board, whether you fought the war or not, you just bring in a gun to disarm or bring in 150 bullets. If you bring in 150 bullets, we're going to give you some money. and then give you an ID card that you can use afterward to go to college free of charge. So a friend of mine, I got to him, I said, I want to go to school. I don't have money. I want to go to college. Can we go and pay for bullets? He said, where? I said, let's go around because people buying bullet. People go, let's go and buy some bullet. So he and I has the money. We travel to the interior part of our country for a couple of weeks, and we were successful. We bought some bullets, and we took it to the disarmament camp. They had to keep you there for a couple of weeks to be disarmed and get the ID, everything. I didn't care. We worked for 4 to 5 days for this because the disarmament process was closing up, and I wanted it so bad. I wanted to go to college. So I went ahead, I got him. He and I traveled for this number of days because car could not go to the spot. We had to walk for 4 to 5 days. Finally, I got this and I had my ID card. And that was the biggest thing I ever got. I had a passport to go to college. I was so excited about it. Came back to the city, got myself settled down, and I went to register for college. And they did it in the way that while you in college, they even started giving you per diem, every little stipend while you're in school.
Mm.
It was the biggest opportunity for me.
Oh, that's good.
And that's how I went to college for my 4 years degree with no dollar pay, $0, and I even had stipend every time. And I went to a private university that was not easily affordable. And I could only turn to say how good the Lord has been to me. Now I'm graduating from college with not a single dollar. Nobody knew how it was. That's how I got my college degree. And after that, life started with me a little bit. I started working with my uncle who worked in the legislature in my country. I worked for a couple years. And then I had an opportunity that I missed years back that I couldn't come to the U.S. This opportunity then came to me for the second time. I went through the process, and that's how I came to the United States. So I said, God is always wanting us to wait.
Yes.
So I would have come to America at that stage, not even a high school diploma yet, and all that stuff, growing to get there. A little did I know God wanted me to get a
Set it up for you.
college degree, set me up. So when I came to the United States, yes, again, I met with tough time and challenges. It took me years. I came in the United States again, undocumented. So everything has just been a rough ride for me. And it was so rough that friends of mine would say, why don't you go back to your country? Forget about this America. But then I already had my kids in Africa. I said, I don't care what it is. I will struggle in America and I will stay here till the Lord can open door, not only for me, for my children and my lovely mother. So every time I went to bed, I got up, I said, Mama, I want to make sure one day I bring my mother to America. If I would struggle in America, I'm not going back. And my mother would call me and speak to me. You remember all the years you spent in jail? I pray for you every day. And my mother did something, not a single day my mother dished out food in the home without putting food down for me in my bowl. All the years that I spent in jail, my baby sister, my little brother said to me, some days we would get so mad. My mother would still keep this bowl.
Wow.
She said she keeping her son food. But it meant that, how could you think about it? He's not. My mom said, I'm keeping his food. All the years, whenever she cooked, she had food, she had that bowl set for
That's
me
for you.
every day.
So
Until
mother's love and faith too.
my- And so when I spent these years in America, she called me and told me, I don't care what it is in America, stay there. It's going to be all right. 7 years plus in America, undocumented. I live in New York. And it was rough and really hard. I decided I was going to go to school again. I didn't have a document. So I started researching. How can you go to school in New York? I don't know about other states though, without document. And somebody told me from my research, I got information that said you can go to school, especially vocational programs. I wanted to go to a plumbing vocational school, construction. So I did the research. It was proven yes, you can. All you needed was have somebody who is going to co-sign for you, who either has to be a citizen or a permanent resident. And I was able to find somebody who vouched they were going to sign up for me, co-sign for me to go to school. I had to pay the money off pocket. I said, no problem. I want to go to school. Why? Because I walked many days, went down Brooklyn, and I entered New York University. I walked all over the place. I want to go to New York University, but I don't have document in America. And I wanted to go so bad. And I started fasting and praying. I used to fast sometimes for 30 days.
Oh,
I go for 30 days fasting prayer, straight 30 days. Sometimes I go for 7 days, 21 days, just around them. And it became so consistent with me. After 1 month, 2 months, I visit New York University. I walking all over the campus like I was one of them. And I chose to do my registration. I did registration. I don't have a green card. And they told me, oh, sir, we can't. Like, you don't have a paper. I said, well, I just want to register. I'm going to go to school. And so when I went through the process, I graduated from Berkeley School in Long Island, Queens, some years. And then the school said that would have been one of the things to push me forward as a requirement to go to Tendon School of Engineering to do construction management as a master program. I set up my dream. I want to do this. I don't have a document. So my registration was accepted. A semester came. They asked me if I had my green card. I didn't have. They said, well, we only have one more semester. If you can, we can't keep you on the land. You got to go back and do a new registration. God is great. Just within that time, I met my wife through a church elder by the name of Elder Mike Bride. And his
oh,
wife,
I know him. Yes.
Elder Mike Bride and his wife, as we all know, Heather Mike Bride today, they were not even married at the time, but they were in the medical missionary work.
Yes.
So I used to go to church in Queens. So one day they came to do a presentation. So while the presentation was going on, we also went out with my other church elders that I had. When we came back, I missed their presentation. So I went to Sister Mike Bride, Heather at the time. I said, oh, I missed your presentation. How can I get a tip? She said, we talked about it. Then she told me about Staten Island. I said, oh, I know they got a lot of Liberians over there. Which church did you go to? Do they have Liberians? And then she said to me, oh, yeah, they have a lot of Liberians. I said, wow, I like to go there. She said, oh, there's a young lady there who, have the same Liberian accent, and she always talk about Liberian art, Liberia. Oh, yeah, I might tell her about you. You guys can talk. Would you mind? I said, why not? And then she asked me, are you married? I said, no. She said, okay, that's fine. But I'll talk to her if she wants me to give her number for you to call. I said, okay, that would be great. So she then went ahead and spoke to this young lady. And then the lady gave her number and said, okay, I'd like to talk to him. He's a Liberian brother, that would be fine. And then they gave me the number. And I picked my phone out like on the Sabbath. I said, oh, no, I don't want to call anybody yet. I don't even know it. Let me wait after the Sabbath. Put the phone down. And after sunset, I picked up the call. Hey, hello. And we started talking. From there, we started speaking our Liberian way of talking. And we had a beautiful conversation. I said, okay, so I will find a time to come to church, to see your church. She said, okay. From there, it took 1 or 2 weeks. We talked. And then one Sabbath, I left from Brooklyn, crossed over to Staten Island to go there for the first time to worship. When I got to the church, as soon as I got to the door of the church was like you walk in, if you know New Brighton Community, Staten Island, BC. The church is like that. You walk in and everybody's seated facing towards the pulpit and the back face. I walk in, nobody knew. I just quietly sat right behind my wife. But before walking in, as soon as I got to the door, I looked at everybody back. And the Spirit just told me, that's your wife sitting right there. True Spirit, just like that. And I went and sat right behind her. And I tapped her on the back. She turned around. How do you know I was the one? We just spoke on the phone. I said, I don't know. Something just told me you're the one. And then I walked and sat by her. And then the two of us just clicked. So we started talking and laughing. So the elder that was having Sabbath school lesson study, he knew my wife so well, they joked. And he just said, well, Adrian, can you stand up and introduce your boyfriend? She said, I don't know this man. He just came the first day. And then he said, oh, you guys quit playing, man. Stop. Anyway, we understand you guys are playing. I said, I don't know. And so that's the beginning of life. Little did I know we were going to get married in the next 6 or 7 months. Me and this wife of mine today. And that very day, we had a connection, the church, we had a wonderful time. So when I left, we had changed number, we even talked more. And we started talking from there. Head of my bride started asking, how you guys doing? We said, well, everything is fine. After a couple of months, I said, well, we want to get married. I said, what? That can be true. Where you coming from? I said, well, we're getting married. And they called her, they asked her and me and Pastor Jackson, Vic Ross Jackson was the pastor at the time. He called us for counseling and we talked from there. He said, if you guys are people ready, let them go ahead. And we had Mother Smith, who was one of the elders in the audience and the mother to my wife. And they had a wonderful planning for us with Elder Carol Jones. They all took the initiative and they planned a wedding for us. And the wedding was set. We got married in 2016, November the 6th. And so since then, we will be turning 7 years now in our marriage. So when I met her, I said, well, you are going to be the mother of my children. She said, okay, if that's what you're bringing, it's not going to work. I said, what do you mean? I don't think I can have children. I've never had any pregnancy in my life. And my age now, let's leave that. If you want to marry, let's talk about it. Talk about children, that's not going to work. And I turned to her, I said, listen, you are going to be the mother of your children. You have children. She said, okay, so let's leave it. I didn't know what I was talking about, but little did I know God was speaking. The very time we got married, my wife got pregnant for the first time since in her life. And then this is a 45 years old woman, the first time to get pregnant. So everybody asking us if we ever went to the doctor and stuff. Never. Have you ever had this? No. Since I was born, she said to the doctor, I never missed my circle before. I never got pregnant before. This is the first time. The doctor said, I can't believe this. Your age and everything else, that's what the Lord can do. God had the dream and the plan for my life so much. And that's how I got my son today. And his name, Othello, by Hebrew Bobway Jr. That which my father denies me, I chose to give to my son. Like, you're going to be my junior. I remember when my father ripped me all of this. Like I said in the first episode of our interview. And my son, when you see him, just see me. Exactly. Everything about me is like a real photograph.
Wow.
Lord can do. And so right now, as we speak, we started working hard for my children that are left in Liberia. The Lord opened door as we speak. One of my daughters is going to be coming already in the United States. And then I said, the very day I went to get my citizenship, as soon as I walked from the hall and I got my certificate, the first thing I came home, my wife said, sit down right now and apply for your mom. And I sat the very day to apply for my mom. And it was funny though. The system said, no, you just got your citizenship today. You can do that. So the system denied it. I said, all right, it's fine. Tomorrow I'm going to get on board. I went to bed the next morning without even that. I got on it. I did my mom application, and how quick it was, like in less than a week or something. I got a reply. So, okay, your kids have been accepted. Everything is on. I said, what? This is what the Lord is going to do. So right now, I can't wait for this process to finish and have my mom to come.
Wow.
That's a lovely mother. So quickly, just to give a little story about my dad. After all these years, when I came to the United States, unfortunately, there was a disease in Liberia called Ebola.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
That disease was very, very devastating. And it broke my heart because I had so much that I wanted to do, like give back to my stepmother, even though the treatment I got from her, I can't keep the memory. But I just thought that the Lord would have kept her. Unfortunately, she lost the battle to Ebola disease.
Oh.
And two of my siblings from my dad also lose the battle as well. And my dad, because those days you can't even touch the dead of an Ebola
Right.
person died. But my stepmom died, and my dad took this body when nobody helped. He did everything. Like people had to come over to get. And they carried my dad to quarantine him, bring him back. Nothing wrong with him. No Ebola could get my dad. Then the other daughter died again. He took the body, they took him again, tested him, quarantined him for the first time, the second time. My dad never caught this disease. I said, wow, God is great. So he and I talk about it. I reconcile with my dad.
Great.
I reconcile with my dad because I have got to know Jesus so deeply. And my relationship with Christ grew so strong that I got on my knees every day and I prayed for my dad so much that I wanted God to do something, that I can do something for my dad. And I started working out. Every time I get money, I send money for him. And so one day they called me that my dad was seriously sick, and I sent money. The next thing I heard that he came down with stroke. And when I talked to my dad, he lost his speech. He just slurred. He can't talk well. I couldn't even understand what he's talking. And it was the saddest part of my life. Like, I just wanted him to live, that I would do something for him, to just let him know that the rejected stone becomes the cornerstone. And I wanted to really pay back, to give him something. But God is good. He's still alive. So when I sent money for him, so one day he did something that I was like, okay, you getting on my nerve right now. I sent him money, and then my dad would call me back and say, okay, what's going on? He said, oh, the money you sent me, the money is small. I said, listen, you don't deserve no money from me. Don't be telling me if the money is small or not. Whatever I give you, just take it. And I just laughed about it. I said, God, help me that I can be, because his condition now is so deplorable. My dad doesn't walk. He tells me his limbs are all gone. He can't even talk well. And it's so sad. Like, this is the child that you neglected. This is the child you sent to kill. Now it's this child that's sending money for you to survive, for you to eat. So I see this to be, have a heart of God, and God would open door. And I even go and say, God, please forgive him. Keep him strong, that I can have life to do something greater for him. And today, that's my prayer. As I end this interview with you, that's my prayer. But it gets to me See what my dad is going through. I owe so much. My son, I see him every day. God help me. I don't want to see this repeat in my life, what my dad did to me. And I have to feel so sad for my dad. He lost his wife that he rejected me for, and even the other kids that he rejected me for. And today he can't talk, he can't walk. It's so much he's going through. I say, God, please forgive him. Forgive him. And I can say this today just to close up this interview. Let God work in our hearts. I don't care what it is that you're going through. Trust in God. I got so glued to the church that I became the youngest person to be ordained on the Staten Island as an elder in the church. That's how I became an ordained elder in the church. And I since then been just gave my life to God and trust in God. Today, when I went to school, I graduated from New York University with my first master's degree in construction management, and I still push my life. I'm doing my second master's degree right now in the same New York University in project management. I got a job that I brought my family in Houston that was so hard, very, very challenging. I was just on a stipend, and my wife like, how are we gonna get this done? I went to get an apartment for us. I was rejected because I didn't have a salary. They say just a stipend. I almost want to give up. I spent 4 months in one bedroom with my family. But there was this little voice that kept telling me, hold on, hold on. And so I finished my program with this job and I started sending my application prior to the last day on the previous job. And the Lord did something marvelous for me. I want to just share. I had interviews with different companies as an assistant project manager. Some of them, the city of Houston, because I live right now in Houston when I left New York with my family. And then most of them had said they're going to call me up. So one day I got this call for an interview with the largest railroad company in the US, which is called Union Pacific Railroad. And they got me hired, manager. And so when I got this news, I said, wait a minute, a manager? Yes, I've been hired as a manager. And I just got to my wife. I said, guess what? I got a job. So when they were doing all the interview and all of the background check and everything came back perfect. So I told my wife, all my background check is perfect. My job is going to be taking me from city to city. I'm going to be going to Nebraska, Omaha for my first set of training. I'm going to have a whole year of training before I even take over as a proper manager. So I just want to share, see where the Lord took me from. Go back to the first episode of my story. And today, the Lord brought me a mighty long way. And then I said, I was not going to leave just my son and my wife. God, how am I going to do this? Our daughter now that we filed for 2018 till now, the very time I had this job coming up, my daughter is called to the embassy. She got her visa to come to the United States. So we're like, wow, what a great God. God is so good that everything just came falling in place. So my daughter is going to be here as we speak today. Tomorrow, my daughter is going to be here. And I have 2 weeks to be flying to Nebraska for me to get started on a new job. And I have her to come and connect with her little brother and my wife, her mother now. And I just want to say, trust God. Trust Him.
Well, what a testimonial. What a story. You know, I'd love to see you come back when your daughter comes and your mother. I'd love to just interview them as well. Thank you so much for coming. You know, you made it so easy for me. You were so fluent with your story, systematic. You went on and you did very well. Thank you so much. I know it must have been hard to, going back to bring up all those things again. But I'm glad that you realize that your story can help someone. And I know it's helped me already. And I know those who are listening right now, it's helping them. Somebody somewhere is going to be blessed by your story.